Good evening, traders and potential traders. This is Nuke coming at you with another episode of Day Trading with Nuke. And this is going to be our market recap for, what is it, Monday, December 17th, 2018. Yeah, that's right. I hardly even know what day it is sometimes, guys. That being said, we're going to jump right into this. And we're going to start off with the SPY. SPY had one hell of a day today. Pre-market, it was selling off from the pre-market high of 261 and the pre-market low of 259, and it tanked, and then it came back up, tested the pre-market low, tried to dip back down a little bit, shot up halfway into the pre-market range, dumped back down to the opening candle of the day, and then it jumped back up to halfway. And this is the point where it didn't actually set in a lower high. Lower high. I always get those mixed up. It's one of those tongue twisters, right? But what it did do was it definitely double topped right here, right? So as it double topped, what happened is it just fell and fell. And you would think that hitting the 100% extension to the downside would be enough for it, but nope, it came back for some more. Tags 200% to the downside before dipping into a little bit more towards the 300% territory, and then come back up and jumped up above the 50. But, I mean, that is one hell of a fall off of the side of the table there, right? Way, way, way below the VWAP by the end of the day. So those that were on the right side of these market moves, you made out like a bandit. You were healthy. And those that got on the wrong side, you got crushed. All right, so we're going to go through, and I'm probably going to have to clean up some of these charts for y'all, but that's okay. And what we're looking at here is on the let's see. What am I talking? Sorry, guys. It's been a long day. Facebook, it had sold off pre-market steady. Dropped down to about 50% to the of the 100% extension to the low side. Rebounded, came back up. And then the key area is when it rejected the previous high of pre-market. And then it set in a lower high. And this right here was your key that this thing was falling off the map. And what happened with it? Once it got past this point, huge sell-off, a little bit of a recovery for the 50, rejected the 50, came back down to the opening candle of the day, retested the VWAP, then broke below it, and then it was just good night, sweet darling. Come down to the 200% extension below. So we got pre-market high, pre-market low, 100% below, 200% below. So this thing was just, once it followed the SPY and it got on its short on, it was just good night. All right, put her to bed. She's done. Huge range of motion. Baba was not so extreme, and we'll take a look at that, marking off some longer term trend lines. We'll see that Baba was steadily in a decline today. God, I got the coughing on strong. Ugh. All right, so our trend lines, we knew Baba was declining. We know we should have been shorting it. Right out of the gate, had a strong pull down, but it didn't really want to get below that pre-market low. So it got one Fibonacci below, came up, retested it, and then it started working its way back up. Hit its head on this ugly little pre-market resistance line, and then followed down, and it tried to get back in this trend, or channel rather, but it did break below it, right? But there was no signs that this thing was coming back out, and with the SPY being on the downhill run, Baba wasn't about to argue with it. So it just said, yes, ma'am, came on with it, and just huge move to the downside. And this thing was 5.7 points. So good range of motion. Next up is going to be Apple. Was watching this. Apple was probably the most confusing stock to follow because right out of the gate, it had popped back up with today, and then it slowly cascaded back down, but did not fully reclaim the pre-market lows. And then right before the bell, this thing shoots up, comes back down, tests the pre-market high, shoots up again. Almost, but not, rejects this 100 extension to the upside, sets in a little bit of a higher low, making you think it might be ready to do its due diligence and head back to where it belongs for the day. Nope. Gets down here to the 50, tests the VWAP, bounces back up, retests the 100. And you think, oh, here's my double top, and it starts to drop really hard, breaks through the 50 like, screw you, I don't care, I ain't coming back. Doesn't get to the VWAP. Bounces back, comes up to the 100. Now you're thinking, okay, we played this game 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. So a lot of people were thinking Apple might be the one stock throwing the finger to the SPY, and it's going to go long. Well, that didn't happen. This was actually your short. It was a lower high, and it was just a little hard to read. But for those of you that got it right, you had 100% extension above the pre-market range, the full pre-market range, and then within, I don't know, 10 cents of 100%, let's see, actually it might be more, 73, yeah, within 3 cents of 100% extension to the downside. So all in all, let me measure that out, $5.62, I think, if we go up here. Yeah, $5.62 range of motion. That's pretty impressive. Apple, if you were on the right side of these moves, you could have made a killing out of it. All right, next up. And the best part was it wasn't super choppy. I mean, it did go back and forth for a while, but once these things picked a direction, they throw them a life ring. They're on the Titanic. They're sinking. All right. Don't know why I have this on here. Come on. Yeah, guess it's in my study. All right. So Tesla, I don't like talking about Tesla too much, but she faded off early, set the pre-market low, stayed there, dropped below, popped back up, just up into the pre-market range, and then said goodbye. Look at this, though. This is why I use these so much, people. Okay? Look at how well it respected this 100% extension to the downside. Then it went ratchet on you, right? You got in this chop fest. You could have thought this was another a higher or a lower high, and then it dropped back on you. And then this is the double bottom, right? And it starts to come back up, but it doesn't break, it rejects, starts to come back down. It was just a chop fest for a while. But once it's set in this double top up here, drops to the pre-market low, comes down, tries to retest, doesn't start going back high, drops again, and this third time, that was when she put her to bed, right? So it was hard to get in on Tesla and pick it accurately, but the range was there. I mean, you've got pre-market low to 100% extension, 200% extension, and 50% of the 300% extension. $21.82 worth of range of movement today. That is insane, people. You could have went in with just a couple of shares and came out looking pretty. All right, next up, Amazon. I try not to touch Amazon. I had some extra markings on here because I was showing somebody something. So I'm going to clear that out. Just using it to look at because it's impressive, right? All morning pre-market. Down, 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 down. Come the open, a little bit of a pop up to the VWAP, then fell off the planet. Breaks cleanly through the 100% extension to the downside. Gets to the next Fibonacci below. It's like, screw you, not doing this. Comes back. Has a little resistance at the 100. And then it gets fakey. Chop fest. Right back to the pre-market low. Chops right back down to the 50%. Chops right back up to the pre-market low. Decides to go 50% back up into pre-market action. Drops back down to the pre-market low. Comes back up. But if you were paying attention, she sets in a lower high. So if you didn't get in here, that's okay. That dip was a chop fest. If you didn't get in here, that's okay. Broke back below the pre-market high, sets in yet another lower high, right? So this is looking really tempting, especially if you were to come back at her like that, right? And you know that you're in short territory, and then she starts paying the bills, right? So Amazon would have paid some serious rent. $71.12 range of motion. I don't know if comparatively for the money that was quite as much as Tesla was. Tesla might have been a better value, but Amazon did have a bigger range of motion. Either way, quite impressive, especially if you got in on the right side, and it does not take many stocks to do it. All right, or stocks. It doesn't take many shares. AMD, my devil darling, right? So she was choppy as hell pre-market. No idea which way it was going to go. Right out of the gate, just crashes through, hits the pre-market low, slams through in a 75% of the 100% extension in one candle. I mean, this thing was just massive. It was damn near the entire pre-market range in a single candle. Hits the 100% within the first 10 minutes, 200% by the time we're 20 minutes into the open, and then before we're even 30 minutes in, we're almost at the 300%. Rejects that, this by not coming any further down. Came up, hesitated for a moment. Most people would have been thinking this thing's going for the bottom, but it surprised us, started pulling back up. It gave you a little bit of indication, but not as much as you would have liked. This was the chop fest range, guys. This is where you got your toes in the blender and you get chopped up and spit out the other side, and you hate your trading life. But if you had taken this as a reversal and got in long, but it's not in the right time frame for the reversal. It was way early. And what does it do? Comes back up, almost to the 100, back down to the 200. Almost to the 100, almost back down to the 200. Up to the 100, back down, nope, up a little bit above, up. It's just chop fest. All the way back to the pre-market low, at which point in time, it set in, it rejected this, drops back below through the 50. That's about 50% of the pre-market low to the 100% extension. Tries to retest and come back up here. Doesn't do it. So you should have noticed this gap here. Now, what we have here is a beautiful head and shoulders pattern, right? And then she falls off the map. So great clear indication. And then you could have caught another 100, 200, 300, and 400 to the downside. So if you played this thing and caught the 80% of the majority of these moves, it was only $1.39 of total range of movement, but it's also an $18 stock, so you can take a lot of it. Even 250 shares would have made you pretty decent movement on this, or price action. But you could have caught this and get out somewhere in here. Even if you got out on the pullback halfway here, you still made good money. If you switched your bias once it came up, retested, dropped, and took off again, you still could have caught a hell of a lot of action up to here. And then when you caught this head and shoulders pattern, you could have caught a lot of action on the way down. So all in all, very impressed with AMD today. Next up, MU. Didn't really enjoy it, but it was a steady performer today. Pre-market high to pre-market low, ping-ponged around. I wasn't sure what it was doing. Right out of the gate, she drops down halfway to the 100% below, rejects it, halfway back up into the pre-market action, rejects it, back down, starts coming up. I was expecting a reject back down, somewhere here setting in that trend line for resistance, blew right through it. Paused for a minute, blew through. So this would have been your appropriate re-entry point if you were taking it long. How much could you have gotten if you took it long? Breaks out of the pre-market high, comes up 100%, rejects, comes back down, retests 100%. By this area here, you should have seen that this thing was setting in new lows or lower highs, right? So anywhere you got in here would have been a great place to short, and it followed that down for the rest of the day. How much? $1.62 range on a $33 stock, and you could have caught really, this was a bit of a chop fest, right? But even if you got in right here when it retested the pre-market high, rode that up 100%, got out, and then rode it from the 100% back down through the pre-market low, that would have been a hell of a range of motion on a $33 stock. So good potential. I didn't touch it. IQ, not what I would call impressive out of the gate. It just looked choppy, up, down, up, just not enough range there, not enough decisiveness. Right out of the gate, tries to go up, rejects the pre-market high. Comes to go down, gets to the pre-market low, rejects, come back, tries to come down, comes back to the halfway mark, right about 50%, and then all-day fader. Now, if you were on top of your game, you would have seen it setting in those lower highs, and you could have got a reasonable entry in here. If you missed it, when it rejected, went through here, came back up and retested the pre-market high, set in another pre-market low, this would have been a great entry point as well, and you still could have capitalized for 200, almost 300, and almost 400 percent extension to the downside. Huge range of motion for a $16 stock, $1.61 actual range, probably the best value on the market today for range of motion versus cost of pay to play. So that's what I've got. 15 minutes. Hope you liked it. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave me some comments below. I know I'm loud, I know I'm in your face, I know my charts induce seizures, but you know what? There's a method to the madness, and if you're sitting on this side and if your your screen resolution is right, let's get on in here. Let's just show you once we get in here a little bit, and you can see it a little more clearly, right? I hope some of this, once you get in, the seizure kind of goes away, and you see the accuracy that is provided by these fibs and how repeatable it is day after day, guys. Don't follow me for a day, follow me for a week. Don't follow me for a week, follow me for a month. You know what? Just go ahead and sign up. Figure you're going to follow me from the rest of the days on, right? Why? Because there's something of value here for you. It might be different, but different might be what you need, right, guys? Anyway, leave me some comments. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See ya.